So what do you see in the throne of God? In the throne room of God, you see the four living beasts, right? You see the 24 elders, you see other angels and the saints. They're all there, right? But I want to focus on these 24 elders for a minute. Hebrews says that the thing that God made in the earth was patterned after the thing that He made where? In heaven. Come with me, if you would, to 1 Chronicles chapter 24. When God establishes the priesthood in Israel, on the earth, guess how many elders there are? 24. Why are there 24? Because what He did on the earth was patterned after what He did where? In the heavens. How do you understand what's in the heavens? You understand what's in the heavens by looking at the things that are what? Made. 1 Chronicles 24 verse 5, it says, "Thus were they divided by lot, one sort with another, for the governors," notice, "of the what? Sanctuary." What did Hebrews say? Where did Christ go? He went down and sat down at the right hand of the Father in the sanctuary that was where? In heaven. "For the governors of the sanctuary and the governors of the house of God were the sons of Eleazar and the sons of Ithamar." And if you read down through verse 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way down through verse 16, they are listed for you. And then you get to verse 17, 1 and 20th to Jacob, and 2 and 20th to Gamal, the 3rd and 20th to Delia, the 4th and 20th to Maziah. These were the orderings of them in the service to come into the house of the Lord according to their manner under Aaron their father, as the Lord God of Israel had what? So when God establishes His priesthood in the earth, how many elders does He put in charge of the earthly priesthood? 24. How many elders are there before the throne of God in Revelation 4? 24. How do you understand the invisible realm? You understand the invisible realm by looking at the things that God made where? On the earth. Is there a pattern? Is there a correlation? Israel's religion was patterned after the one that God established in heaven. There's a heavenly sanctuary where angelic beings minister in the presence of God Himself in the third heaven. And it was in that location that Lucifer was what? Expelled from. Come with me to Isaiah chapter 40, verse 22. It says, "It is He that sitteth upon the circle of what?" Listen, all these clowns that for thousands of years thought the earth was flat, they just didn't read the Bible. Because the Bible would have told them, if they would have read it, that the earth was round the whole time. The Bible is so far, and you're going to see this morning, the Bible is so far ahead of so-called science that it's mind-boggling what the Bible records that science will never find out. Do you know what they are? I'm going to say this right now. Do you know that one day they are going to invent some kind of a telescope that can look farther into space, and they're going to come back to us and say, you know what, God's not out there, we can't find Him. There's a reason for that too. We'll get to that in a minute. Isaiah 40 verse 22. "It is He that sitteth on the circle of the earth." Look at, "and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers." Look at the second half. "That stretcheth out the heavens as a what? Curtain. And spreadeth them out as a tent." To what? Why did God make the universe the way He made it? He made it as a dwelling place for who? Himself. And when He built it as a tent. He stretched the heavens out as a tent for Himself to do what? Dwell in. Go to Psalm 138. I wasn't going to do this, but we should. Psalm 138. Where does God want to live? Where does God intend to dwell? It's 132, I'm sorry, Psalm 132. So He creates this stuff. He creates the heavens and the earth. And He stretches them out when He forms them as a tent for Himself to what? Hebrews says that the tabernacle that Moses built on earth. By the way, for those of you who are not aware, the tabernacle was a tent. Okay? The one that Moses built on the earth was patterned after the true one that God pitched where? We know now that the one that God pitched in heaven, He spread it out as a tent for Himself to what? Dwell in. Psalm chapter 132. Verse, for the sake of time, verse 13. Well, verse 12. If thy children will keep my covenant and my testimony, I shall teach them. Their children shall also sit upon the throne forevermore. Look at verse 13. For the Lord hath chosen where? Zion. He hath desired it for His what? Listen, what do you do in a habitation? You live in it. You dwell in it. Look at verse 14. This is my rest. Here will I what? Dwell, for I have what? In the end, in the ages to come. You remember in Revelation 21, you read about the heavenly Jerusalem coming down as a bride adorned for her bridegroom, right? Where does that city land and establish a permanent residence? In Zion. Because God desired and chose Zion for His what? Habitation. And He created the earth, the structures of the heavenly sanctuary as a tent for Himself to what? Dwell in. Here's the tabernacle on earth. You enter into the gate, you have the brazen altar and the laver. Then there's a door here, and this is called the holy place. The table of showbread, the golden lampstands are here. Okay? You go, this is the veil, and in here you have the Holy of Holies and the Ark of the Covenant. The high priest is only allowed into the Holy of Holies once a year on the Day of Atonement to sprinkle the blood of the sacrifice on the top of the mercy seat, to atone and cover the sins of the people for another year. I want you to look at that, and now I want you to put your spiritual thinking caps on with me and come with me to Genesis chapter 1. Folks, we're about ready to go over some stuff about Genesis 1 that I guarantee you have not heard before. Okay? That I want to lay out for you. All we are going to do is use verses. We are not going to use creation science. We're not going to use any of the stuff that you might read about if you pick up a book about Genesis chapter 1. All I care about is what the verses say. Okay? That being said, look at verse 2. The earth was without form and what? Void. And darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon what? The face of the waters. Okay. The deep. That verse talks about something called what? The deep. And it says that the deep is full of water, and that it's what? Dark. All right? Now listen. I'm going to submit to you this morning that the deep is the container in which the universe is held. And I'll show this to you as we go through this. The deep is the container of the universe, and at the time that you read about in verse 2, it says that it's full of water and that it's what? It's dark. Okay? Now, the face of the deep. Hold your hand there and come to Genesis 7. Genesis chapter 7, look at verse 18. The waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the what? The face of what? The water. So what does that mean? The ark floated on the top of what? The water. Okay? So if we're talking about the face of the deep, we're talking about what? The top of the deep. That is full of water and that is dark in verse 2. Right? Everybody got that? Go back to chapter 1. Now let's look at verse 3. And God said, let there be what? Light. And there was light. Question number 1. Where is the light coming from in verse 3? It's not coming from the sun. Go to verse 14. God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule what? The night. So, the sun and the moon are not created until day 3.